told you that some of the ways that you self-sabotage, like procrastination, burnout, overthinking, addiction, maybe your ADHD, or you sabotage healthy relationships, or that deep feeling of worthlessness might not even be yours. You could be carrying unresolved pain from your parents, your grandparents, or ancestors that you've never even met. And until you heal these hidden generational wounds, you're going to keep repeating patterns, unable to change them, and you'll keep blaming yourself for issues that aren't even yours. Your self-sabotaging behaviors are like smoke signals. It's your subconscious mind's way of pointing to generational trauma that needs to be seen, acknowledged, and healed. In this video, I'll share with you the science behind generational trauma, real examples from history and research that can back this up, and then also how ancestral trauma can manifest as self-sabotage, and most importantly, what you can do to break the cycle so that it finally ends with you. If you're new to this channel, I'm Jess, and I help entrepreneurs and healers and self-aware individuals reprogram their subconscious mind and heal ancestral trauma so that they can finally eliminate their self-sabotaging behaviors and achieve their goals. If you're ready to stop getting in your own way, then hit that subscribe button so we can stay connected. And if you like what you hear today, please give this video a thumbs up. That shows me that you like this type of content. You might think that you come into this world as a blank canvas, but science says you don't. We inherit emotional patterns, survival fears, and even physical symptoms that don't belong to us. And the stronger and more painful the trauma that your ancestors endured, the more your cells remember. What I'm about to share with you is backed by science. And there's an entire field called epigenetics, which means above the genome. And it shows that when trauma happens, like war or famine, violence or oppression, it actually changes your genes and how they express themselves. These changes act as chemical markers that can get passed down from one generation to the next. In other words, trauma shapes the DNA expression of your ancestors, and that expression gets passed down through the generations to help later generations survive. Now, here are some powerful examples I want to share with you from history. The Dutch hunger winter. So during World War II, a Nazi blockade starved thousands in the Netherlands. And decades later, their children and grandchildren had higher rates of diabetes, obesity, hypertension. This is all linked to that famine. Now let's talk about Holocaust survivors. Studies show that both survivors and their children share the same trauma symptoms, like lower cortisol levels, which changes how they handle stress. And if we look at 9/11 babies, mothers who developed PTSD after 9/11 gave birth to babies with smaller birth weights and trauma-altered genes, even though these babies didn't directly experience the tragedy. And there was an experiment also done with mice in a lab. The reason mice are used is because they have a shorter lifespan, so you can witness the generational trauma faster and how it expresses itself in the genes. And in this experiment, a group of mice were conditioned to fear the smell of cherry blossoms, which when they smelled it was accompanied by a shock. The fear was then passed down to their pups and grandpups. Generations who had never even been shocked panicked when they smelled cherry blossoms. The pain and trauma is reverberating through their cells in an effort to help them survive. And that's exactly what's happening to you. You think on the surface you're self-sabotaging, but underneath it all is trauma that might not even be yours. So let's look at how trauma gets passed down through the generations. When a woman is 5 months pregnant with a baby girl, that baby already has all the eggs that she'll need for her future children. So your grandmother's stress, her fear, and her survival responses literally start shaping you at a cellular level. And it's not just biology, it's the secrets, the trauma, the unspoken tragedies in your family line. These hidden traumas drive your behavior that sabotages your health, relationship success, and your sense of self-worth. Your self-sabotage is a call for help, not just from you, but from your ancestors. So to help illustrate this point, I want to talk about how generational trauma can manifest as self-sabotage. What does all of this have to do with procrastination or overworking or overthinking or pushing love away? When these old wounds stay hidden, when the trauma is not talked about or healed, It can show up in later generations and express itself in many different ways. A common way that self-sabotaging behaviors can show up is through anxiety or feeling these intense emotions. And these emotions may feel too big for the situation or the context for which it's happening. And this is usually because you're carrying the feelings of someone else in the family system. And sometimes that can be anxiety. Now, a fear that can show up a lot that sabotages relationships is the fear of abandonment. This might be something that you're dealing with. Now, what I'm about to share with you might be something that you've never heard before or even thought of before. But if you experience the fear of abandonment, let me ask you this. Who in your family system was given up for adoption, left behind, or forgotten? You might not consciously know, but your subconscious mind and your nervous system know. Now, for people who experience the fear of abandonment, they can be experiencing this as an unconscious form of love to help include the one that had been abandoned in the family system. It's almost like I won't let you be alone in your pain. I'll join you in it. And it's a distorted way that we show love. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds with that. I'm just expressing that specific forms of self-sabotage can be inherited generational trauma. So let's look at the fear of success. Maybe there's an ancestor in your family system who was too successful, and maybe their land was seized, or they were imprisoned or killed or targeted by the government. And now your DNA equates visibility and wealth with danger. Playing small and staying hidden. This is another self-sabotaging behavior a lot of entrepreneurs face. Maybe you have an ancestor in your family line who was seen and killed or betrayed. So now hiding seems like the safest way to stay alive. So now your subconscious mind keeps you invisible in order to keep you safe. Maybe you're sabotaging relationships. Maybe you had an ancestor or many ancestors who were trapped in abusive marriages. No wonder you push love away. Overworking but never making any progress. Maybe you have ancestors who work themselves to the bone just to survive. So resting feels unsafe. Maybe you have trouble holding on to money or it slips through your fingers, which makes us feel unsafe and not grounded. So I ask, who in your lineage was not safe? Now I want to talk about eating disorders here. Some people can see that as a form of self-sabotage. I'm just going to include it so that if there's someone out there that does experience eating disorders, maybe this can help them. But I know it's a very deep and complicated issue. I'm just going to share something with you that could help. So sometimes eating disorders can be linked to ancestors who experienced famine during wartime. Hoarding and obesity can be linked to sexual trauma, either yours or someone in your ancestral line. And that extra weight or all the extra stuff in your home acts as a fortress, acts as a protective layer, keeping you safe from the perpetrator. Now, if there's anything you take away from this video, let it be this. Your self-sabotage is just a smoke signal of unhealed trauma, either from your past or your ancestors' past. And it wants to be seen, acknowledged, and healed. And when it is, it starts to shift. So how do you heal this? The good news is you can heal the past even if you don't know exactly what happened to your ancestors. This is the work that I do with my clients. Some clients come to me and they have all this family history. I give them a form to fill out with questions about their family history, and sometimes they can fill it out pretty in depth, and other times people come back and they're like, I can't fill out anything on this form because I don't have anyone to talk to and I don't know anything. Either way, what shows up in our sessions allows us to heal the issue that you're encountering. So what I'd like you to do is drop in the comments down below and share with me what patterns of self-sabotage are you consciously aware of that you experience. And I want you to get curious. Who in your family might have had a similar experience? You know, sometimes women feel this intense fear of childbirth, and it's understandable, because there's a lot of women in the past when they gave birth who died during childbirth. It's this moment where life meets death. And so it's understandable why women would have that fear. But if it feels very intense for you, I wonder who in your family system either came close to dying at childbirth or actually died at childbirth, because you might be feeling that pain from them. And this is what I'm talking about. Who in your family system has a similar vibrational pain or fear that you're experiencing? And the thing is, you might not even know who they are, and that's okay. When these wounds are acknowledged and healed, you no longer have to carry them at an unconscious level, and your self-sabotage can begin to dissolve. When you heal, you don't just change your life, you actually change the lives of your children and your grandchildren. Your self-sabotage is not a personal flaw. It's a survival strategy, and you have the power to end the cycle if you choose to. So if you'd like to hear real stories on how ancestral trauma shows up as self-sabotage, then I'm going to link a video right here for you, and you can check this video out. And if you'd like to work together on this, you can sign up for a complimentary 15-minute Zoom call, and we can see if working together is a good fit, and that link is down below.